Hi, everybody. Today we have Jaskaran. He's doing his PhD from University of Oregon, and he's here to share his journey with the aspiring student. Welcome, Jaskaran. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good. Thanks. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking, and I really appreciate your time. So let's begin with your introduction. Tell us about your educational background, and you are currently doing your PhD. Tell us about your subject of specialization. From where did you do your bachelor's, master's, and all those things?
Okay. So I am from India. I did my undergrad degree in Noida. I did it from Shiv Nadar University. That's a pretty new university, but it's upcoming one. It's a university that has been opened up by Shiv Nadar. He is the uh, he is the man behind HCL Computers. So that institute has become an institute of eminence recently. So I did my undergrad there in mechanical engineering with a minor in computer science, and then after that I got a direct PhD admit into Oregon State University, where I'm doing my PhD in material science.
Okay, so you didn't do your master's, Jaskaran, right?
No, I did not. So I did. So the work that you do in masters, I actually did
Mm-hmm.
all of that research work during my undergrad. So I had enough
Okay.
stuff to show to the universities when I was applying for a PhD. And my ultimate target was to apply to get a PhD. So it made sense for me to directly go for it rather than like going for masters and then PhD, since I'd already done that work previously.
Okay, this was helpful because I never knew that a student can skip master and do PhD directly. Okay, so this is really helpful. Now let's talk about the colleges that you applied in US for your PhD.
I took a little different approach from how people apply. So I did not generally apply to colleges. What I did was I knew what I wanted to work on in terms of the research that I wanted to do. So I specifically picked up professors and I wrote emails to them. And once
Mhm.
I got replies, positive replies, I would say, from professors, I applied to only those colleges. So as it is, I cut that list of colleges down even before applying, so that I didn't
Okay.
go around applying everywhere. And that was helpful in the sense that I knew what I wanted to work on, so applying anywhere else would not have made sense. So I applied to so I put the colleges that I wanted to apply into three categories. One was safe colleges that I knew I would get in. The
Mm-hmm.
other one, the second category, was reach colleges, which were like slightly above the safe colleges, but I knew I could get into those as well. And
Mm-hmm.
then the third one was dream colleges. So I think I applied to six or seven colleges. I would say
Mm-hmm.
Caltech in my dream category. For the reach categories, one was OSU,
Mm-hmm.
University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, UIUC, and
Mm-hmm.
then, I think there was one or two more. And then and in the safe colleges, I had University of North Texas. So I was working with them in collaboration during my undergrad, so I knew I could get in there. So that is the kind of approach that I took.
Okay. And I want to know, other than your current university, was there any other university who offered you admission? And what was the reason that you took, admission in this university over others?
So I was offered direct PhD admissions to UNT, University of North Texas, and Oregon State University. And then I had
Mm-hmm.
a master's offer from UIUC. I got a reject from Caltech.
Mm-hmm.
The main reason I chose OSU was because the professor, my supervisor here, he is the person who one of the professors who I wanted to work with. So that
Mm-hmm.
was the main reason. And the kind of work that I wanted to do was being done here by my professor. So that was the biggest reason. The other reason was the
Mm-hmm.
second one was because it was a direct PhD admission.
Mm-hmm.
UIUC is a top university, but again, I had to go there and pursue my masters, and then I didn't know whether I could like go on as a PhD student. And for me, this was a better offer, I would say. UNT, because I had worked with them for I think 3 years, during my undergrad. So I wanted to like go somewhere else and not just stick with
The
them. So
same in the
that's,
university.
yeah.
Okay. And I want you to tell our viewers what criteria should a student keep in mind while choosing the university when they have admits from multiple universities.
Um, I can't speak for students who are going for masters, but
Mm-hmm.
I can maybe say that whatever I speak might be applicable to them as well. In terms of PhD admits, I would say the most important thing is the group that you are working in. So usually
Mm-hmm.
for masters, I would say looking at the university is also important. But for a PhD student, I think the group is the most important thing,
Group.
and then of
Okay.
course the university is as well. So I would say first look at the group that the kind of work that you want to do, and the group
Mm-hmm.
that are doing that work in that university. If like see if it's a good university and you're getting a good offer, and then
Mm-hmm.
go ahead and then decide. If you have like two competing offers, then
Mm-hmm.
see which one suits you. Like things, then it might come down to like the standard of living, like where it is in the US, if you want
Mm-hmm.
a specific location. It could come down to that, but usually the offers are such that it doesn't reach that stage. For
Mm-hmm.
masters, maybe it could be the case, but for me at least, it wasn't. So
Okay. Now let's talk about the GRE and TOEFL. So I'm kind of curious. Did you write GRE and TOEFL?
yes, I did. So I wrote both GRE and TOEFL. Um, I think I don't exactly remember the scores. I got some 320 or something in GRE, and for my TOEFL, I think it was 108 or 110 out of 120.
Okay. And did you take any classes as such, any online or, in-house classes for the preparation of these exams?
So as far as classes go, I did not take any classes. You already get like there's a GRE book. So ETS, the organization that conducts these tests, they have
Mm-hmm.
books for both GRE and TOEFL. So I used those books to prepare, and then it came down to just practice tests. So I used a few practice tests that were online. So in that
Mm-hmm.
sense, I use some online resources, but in general, I don't think there is a need to go and take classes. And it wasn't possible for me because my university in India was a little on the outskirts of Noida. So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't possible for me to go back and forth. So I had to prepare on my own, and that is the reason I used
Okay.
those books.
And I want to know, especially for PhD, how much importance, what important role can a GPA play in getting you admit?
So that's a good question. I would say more than GRE, GPA would play a bigger role in terms of application. So there's something
Mm-hmm.
that I'd like to say here is that there is no one criteria that the committee decides whether you're eligible for admission or not. Like you have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things. You have LORs, you have statement of purpose, you have GRE scores, GPA, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So in terms of that, if you look at that, the GPA would play a bigger role because it's something that represents 4 years of your undergrad study. So that
Mm-hmm.
is a much more that gives you a better picture of the candidate than GRE, because on the day of GRE things can go wrong. It might not be your day. Your exam might
Mm-hmm.
not have gone that well. So in that sense, GPA plays a role. But if you want to go for PhD, things like if you have publications, if you have patents, if you have some research experience beforehand,
Mm-hmm.
if you, the professor is the one who will recruit you, right? So if I want to work under my supervisor, he will be the one who will guide me. So he has
Mm-hmm.
to like look at whether I am eligible to join his group or not. So in that sense, I would say um, neither GRE nor GPA would be a factor. It would be a big factor for a PhD student, but I would say if we just have to look at those two, I would say GPA would be.
GPA, okay. And I want you to talk about your visa interview. How did you prepare, and if you have any tips or suggestions for the aspiring student?
So for the visa interview, it was pretty nerve-wracking because I'd heard a lot of things from everyone, like how things are at the embassy
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. But for me, it was like a little different, I would say. So I am doing my major is material science, and
Mm-hmm.
the US government has a list of a list of majors, or I would say topics. So
Mm-hmm.
if I want to pursue research or do PhD here in the US in any of those categories, there's something called as Section 221G. So
Okay.
they will go over your background. So the visa isn't issued right at that moment. So what happened with me was, like, I went to the officer. I had a brief chat with him. Like, he asked me, I think it was she. So she asked me a few questions related to what I was going to do here.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first trip to the US, and my educational background. Once that was done, I think that took around 5 to 7 minutes. So she sent me to another counter where they gave me a slip, which was
Mm-hmm.
this 21G. And then after that, they took my passport and stuff like that. And then it goes into administrative processing. So it's a little uncertain when the timeline of having that process is a little uncertain. They say 3 weeks, but for me, it took like, I think, 2.5 months. So
Okay.
that was a little different from the rest of the people who apply. So things like aeronautical engineering, nuclear engineering, materials,
Mm-hmm.
anything that's military related and stuff like that, they'll put you under administrative processing. And they also needed a letter from my advisor here, saying that
Mm-hmm.
what the kind of work that I'll do here, and if it's related to military stuff and all that. So that was a
Okay.
little. So I
Okay.
would
So.
say, yeah, just don't be like nervous. Just say what they ask
Mm-hmm.
confidently, and there's nothing to hide, right? So there's no point in like being nervous.
Okay. And also, I'm curious if you took an help from any private consultant or agency for documentation preparation purpose.
Um, no, I think it's not even needed because everything is listed on the website, on the
Mm-hmm.
USCIS website. So one can just go and look at the
Okay.
documents that's needed, and it's pretty straightforward. So it's not needed actually.
Okay. And since you're doing PhD, I am kind of curious if it is a fully funded PhD, or how is it, or did you take some kind of loan to support your living in United States?
No, so I didn't have to take a loan. I was lucky enough to get a fully funded PhD offer. Usually,
Mm-hmm.
when we go for PhDs, most of them, I would say almost all of them are fully funded. Um, so I did not have to take any loans as such for
Mm-hmm.
my PhD. Yeah, so
Oh,
that's
that's what it is. Okay. Now, I want you to talk about the infrastructure and the, environment inside the college campus.
So OSU is pretty good. It's in a small town called Corvallis. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it covers almost, like, I would say, 50 to 60% of it, maybe less or maybe more. I'm not really sure,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a pretty big area. And then you have like a lot of small uh, like colleges within it. So I am in the school of mechanical, industrial, and manufacturing engineering. You have computer science, and then you have electrical engineering,
Mm-hmm.
chemical engineering, and a lot of different colleges within OSU. So in
Mm-hmm.
that sense, it's pretty big. The environment is pretty good. Like, everyone is very supportive. So in that sense, like, as a PhD student, I'm mostly focused on my work. So
Yeah, okay.
that is about
All
it.
right. And is your university famous or well known for any program or sports activity in specific?
Yes, so OSU is famous for both sports and different programs. So OSU is number one in the US for all the online programs, any online program in the computer
Mm-hmm.
science. It's I think it has a rank of four or five in in the whole world in terms of robotics. Um,
Okay.
and then there are a few more programs in agricultural sciences, which are
Mm-hmm.
like the topmost in the whole world, number
Mm-hmm.
one and number two. So these are some of the programs. In terms of sports, OSU is part of something called as Pac-12 conference. That's
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of colleges come together, and it's a league. It's sort of a league. So OSU is pretty big on sports as well.
Okay, and I want you to talk about the facilities inside the university, or the facilities that university provide to its student. And let's begin with library and lab facilities.
Hmm. So we have here what is called a Valley Library. It's a pretty big library, and it offers a ton of resources. So you have a lot of books.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from that, you have access to a lot of journals. So as PhD student, I need access to journals and research papers. So they provide
Mm-hmm.
all of that. They also conduct a lot of workshops that can help any student in terms of like just like from time management to how to find resources and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
so the library is pretty big. Apart from that, for lab facilities, you have different labs uh, within different schools. So you could have labs um, in chemical engineering, in chemistry, in physics,
Mm-hmm.
in mechanical engineering, in material science. So
Mm-hmm.
we all don't have access to all of them. So it's on a need basis. If I want to go and work on something, I'll be granted access to that. But usually they train the students in if in case I want to access some particular instrument or machine that's very specific, and so I need training for that.
Okay, and tell us about the gym and recreational facilities inside the campus.
Those are pretty good. We have something called as Dixon Recreation Center. So you have
Mm-hmm.
like everything, from pool to gym. You have different courts, basketball, racquetball, everything. You have running courts. There are a lot of fields around. I mean, you can do anything there. So it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty big. The facilities are pretty good.
Okay. And what about medical facilities? Is there on-campus hospital? Where do students go for their,
Yes, we have something called as a health center.
Mm-hmm.
So you have doctors that are available all the time. So you can go and check with them. We also had a pharmacy, but recently they're closing it down. But you have access to, like, if you get a prescription, you can go and get medicines from anywhere. So we have
Okay.
pretty good facilities.
And tell us about career center and what kind of career service facilities does the university provide?
So the career center is pretty active in terms of like bringing in companies and stuff. So we have what is called a career fair. So
Mm-hmm.
you can go and you have a lot of companies that are there, and then you can interview with them and then give in your resume, and they'll see if you're a eligible candidate. Apart from that, they also conduct a lot of workshops that could be online or in person,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can develop our skills in terms of how we present ourselves. And then it relates to everything, like even how to go about using LinkedIn, or
Mm-hmm.
it could be like how can we easily get interviews, and then even salary negotiation. So they have a lot of uh, things that they cover in terms of workshops. So yeah, so the career center is pretty good.
Okay. And also, I want to know what kind of on-campus job do students do? And since you are in PhD, I'm pretty sure that you must be, you would have had chance to work as an RA. So if you are an undergrad or a graduate student, what kind of on-campus jobs are available?
So as a PhD student, I am a teaching assistant, a graduate teaching assistant. I
Mm-hmm.
have held an RA position previously, but currently
Mm-hmm.
I am a teaching assistant. Most PhD students can get funding in either way. They could be a TA or an RA.
Okay.
As an undergrad, or in case if you're a master's student and if you don't have funding, there are a lot of on-campus jobs that could be in the dining hall or in the residential halls.
Mm-hmm.
or it could be simply like in different buildings. You could just help in maintaining the buildings, or you could there is something called as IT help desks. So some of my friends have even been part of that. So you just help fix people's
Mm-hmm.
computers and stuff like that. So you can get some small jobs here and there that could help you with funding.
Okay. And how easy is to get an internship? And did you ever, in your program in specific, and did you ever had a chance to do an internship there?
So I have not had a chance to do an internship. I was an RA last summer, so
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even apply because I was working on my research stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I have had friends who have either done internships or are doing internships. So it mostly comes down to how you approach different companies. So if you have career fairs, you can go and ask them about internships. You already
Mm-hmm.
get a pamphlet with everything written, like the companies that are coming to the career fair and what they're looking for and the
Mm-hmm.
position. So you can go and approach companies there, or you can reach out through LinkedIn. Or actually, networking is really important. So you can use your network to look for jobs and internships. How easy it is to get, I would say, I can't really answer that question because I haven't been in that position. But
Mm-hmm.
if you have the work that to back you up, and the position is also close to what you're looking for, then I'm pretty sure you should get an internship.
Okay.
Okay.
And would you like to recommend any additional coursework that can help incoming students to improve their chances of getting into internship or a job on completion of their course?
Um, in terms of coursework, um, I'm not really sure if I can recommend anything because uh, it's more like you would a student would look for an internship in his or her area of interest. So
Mm-hmm.
if you are studying computer science here, the coursework is pretty intensive. So if
Mm-hmm.
you want to pursue an internship in a related topic, on a related topic, or in a related field, then you
Mm-hmm.
already will do some coursework related to that. And some of the companies also look at the transcripts before they give you an offer, to see if you have done a relevant course. And only then, even before interviews, they do that. So only then
Okay.
will the student go ahead and get some sort of an internship. So I would say that gets covered once you come here and
Mm-hmm.
take courses.
Okay. And do you stay on campus or off campus? And what suggestion would you like to give to aspiring students, especially when it comes to finding the right apartment?
I live off campus, although it's not too far from the university, but I've been living here since I came to the US. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it was, I wouldn't say I found it myself, but I reached out to the Indian Student Association here, and then
Mm-hmm.
I had a graduate representative who helped me a lot. He was living in this apartment complex, so he helped me
Mm-hmm.
find this apartment. Um, if someone wants to, if a new student wants to find an apartment, I would say they can reach out to the Indian Student Association, so someone from there can help. Other than that,
Mm-hmm.
you could there are a lot of Facebook groups, or groups in general on the internet that
Mm-hmm.
look for that particular location, and then
Mm-hmm.
that is another way you can search for apartments.
And I also want to know, in case if a student wants to be financially prepared about, the expense of studying, in US, in case if it's not a fully funded PhD. So I want to know, what is the tuition fee that you're incurring for the entire program, and also what other extra cost other than your housing cost that you need to keep in mind?
So since mine was a fully funded PhD, I did not look into it too much. But just to give a ballpark number, I would
Mm-hmm.
say, as in terms of tuition fee, one can look at something between 40 to 43K
Mm-hmm.
for like a year, I would say. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then in terms of the cost, the other living expenses, um, as a PhD student, the stipend that I get is I would say generous, but it covers almost everything, all the expenses that I have. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
So so in that sense, it's pretty generous. But if someone who's not funded is looking at these costs, I would say around, it again depends on the location that you're in, but
Mm-hmm.
the place where I stay, and also in Oregon, you don't have sales tax and stuff. So if
Mm-hmm.
you share your apartment with some more students, and then if you spend like not that much, then I would say something from $900 to $1,000 would be pretty good for a month, I would say.
Okay. And now I want you to talk about your favorite professor and what is that you really like about, that person that, which makes him really one of your favorites.
Okay, so I have had a lot of professors that I like, but I will be biased here. I like the way my advisor like
Mm-hmm.
teaches and advises me, because I've had like a lot of questions. I always have a lot of questions, and then and whenever I ask those questions to him, he gets the point. So something like when we say he hits the bullseye. So
Okay.
he gets that point exactly, whatever I have not
Mm-hmm.
understood and stuff like that. So in that sense, I really like the way he approaches questions from students, and also the way he explains and stuff like that is pretty good. I've taken a few of his courses, and it's pretty nice.
Would you like to tell our viewers his name?
Okay, so I work with Professor Dongwa Shu,
Okay.
and my group's name is Materials
Okay. And other
Knowledge
than him,
Group.
are you aware of any other professor who might be really famous because of his contribution in his field, or maybe in general very popular among students?
So OSU has had a few professors. Even now, I think there are a few professors in electrical engineering. I don't remember their names, but
Mm-hmm.
there are a few professors. But OSU, other than those professors, OSU has had pretty good alumni. So the founder of NVIDIA,
Mm-hmm.
and then Linus Pauling, who is the only person to get 2 Nobel Prizes. The person who
Mm-hmm.
invented the computer mouse, Douglas Engelbart, he was an alumni. He has done his undergrad here. There are a
Mm-hmm.
few astronauts. Recently, we had a session with one of the astronauts. So yeah, OSU is pretty famous in terms of.
Okay. All right. Now, I know PhD might be keeping you really busy, but have you participated in any student club as such on campus? And if you want to talk about some of the popular student clubs or association on campus.
Yes. So apart from my PhD, I'm the captain of my Bhangra team at OSU.
Okay.
So I'm pretty interested in doing Bhangra. Um, we have a lot of other groups as well. So it depends on the student's interest. So if
Mm-hmm.
student is interested in anything, I think you can find a club related to that here. And the clubs, there is also Indian Student Association, and then a lot of other student associations
Mm-hmm.
pertaining to like different countries and regions like that. If you want to get involved in that, you can get involved in those. Or there are a lot of sports clubs, and then in general, like clubs related to technology or computer science and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So one can get involved in different ways. It just depends on the student's interest.
Okay. And other than being a part of these club, what do students generally do for entertainment?
As graduate students, we usually hold like potlucks, or we can go
Mm-hmm.
hiking, or just for fun, we can hang out together. So
Mm-hmm.
usually graduate students do that. A lot of undergrads who live on campus, they have their own dorms. So they
Mm-hmm.
have events related to their own dorms, or some students are part of fraternities and sororities. So they have their own event. So everyone is in a sense occupied with something or the other. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if we have time, usually as grad students, we do like potlucks and stuff like that.
Okay. And I want you to talk about academic pressure and workload in your program on the scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest.
Hmm.
And also, what is the general routine of a student in a day or in a week? How many hours does a PhD student in your program in specific spend studying, doing assignment, research work, homework in a week?
Okay, so in terms of the difficulty or like the time it takes for the coursework, uh, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say um, it depends, but I would say something like a 7 or an 8. It
Mm-hmm.
again depends on how many courses you take in a term. So I have been taking a lot of courses. So it was a little hectic for me, but
Mm-hmm.
if you take like lesser number of courses, it is pretty manageable. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, as a PhD student, for me, more than coursework, I have to focus on my research.
Mm-hmm.
I spend a lot of time doing research than coursework. In a week, I would say close to 7 to 8 hours doing research. And
Mm-hmm.
most of the time that I have, like during the morning, I have classes and stuff. So I go there. And then from the afternoon till the evening, I'm mostly in my lab doing research. And then
Mm-hmm.
in the evening, when I come back, I spend time on homeworks or assignments or just reading stuff that has been taught in the class. uh,
Mm-hmm.
I would say for homeworks and stuff it becomes a little hectic close to the deadline, because I
Mm-hmm.
kind of want to spend more time in my lab than just doing
Yeah,
coursework.
homework. Okay. All right. And I also want to talk about the course structure. Is there anything you really like about your course structure, or you really don't like about it? If you can tell more about that to our viewers.
So in terms of course structure, what I really liked at OSU was, since my background is in mechanical engineering, I did not quite know the fundamentals and everything related to material science.
Mm-hmm.
That is my major here. So in that sense, they have courses that don't require you to like know stuff beforehand. So even at grad level, they'll start from the basics and then go into advanced stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
also, and the other reason is because the material science program at OSU is an interdisciplinary program. So it has
Mm-hmm.
students from a lot of different departments, from chemical engineering, physics, chemistry, mechanical, and other branches as well, even like wood science and construction engineering and stuff like that. So in
Okay.
that sense, since you have such a varied class, like student body and crowd,
Mm-hmm.
so then it becomes everyone may not know everything about material science in general. So they have the course structure is such that they have included everything from fundamentals to the advanced stuff that you need to know. So that's pretty good.
Okay. And also, I want you to talk about if the university provide any kind of need-based scholarship to the students.
Uh, what do you mean by need based?
I mean, in case if they're not able to pay tuition fee or anything, because of some personal reason or
Okay.
some, thing happened at their home. So do they provide some kind of compensation or any kind of help?
Yes. So during these times of COVID-19, some people are struggling with
Mm-hmm.
funds. So yes, the university is providing them funds. Uh,
Okay.
they are giving them. I wouldn't say they're covering everything, but they're giving them
Mm-hmm.
sufficient funds to survive. Other than that, in if I would have to talk about like the normal uh,
Mm-hmm.
before Corona, I would say. There are a lot of scholarships and fellowships that OSU offers, and in that
Mm-hmm.
sense, like most of the universities offer that. So even if you don't have funding when you are coming to the US
Mm-hmm.
university, one can apply those here. And if you have sufficient credentials, it's pretty. The chances of getting those scholarships are pretty high.
Okay. And also, I want to know what is your future plan and how do these student counselors and the career center help them achieve this goal of theirs?
So I still have like a year or two before I finish my PhD. So what
Mm-hmm.
I'm planning to do after that is like go for postdoc. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so in that sense, if I have to talk about the role of the career center in helping me get a position as a postdoc, I would say
Mm-hmm.
they help. They organize a lot of workshops and sessions from different national labs that are around, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so in that sense they get a lot of professionals in, and then you can network with them, you can talk to them, attend their sessions, and get to know about the kind of work that's being done at those national labs,
Mm-hmm.
if any of it is of my interest. And then other than that, they'll also help to connect me with professionals in case I want them to help me in that sense. So in
Mm-hmm.
that sense, they help the student a lot in getting what the student wants, but it's
Mm-hmm.
more about the student being proactive about it.
Okay. And would you like to name some of the companies which hire students from your program in specific, from your university?
So so there are a lot of companies that come to my university to
Mm-hmm.
hire in different from different departments and branches.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are Tesla, Intel. Intel has a pretty big manufacturing plant in Portland, so it's pretty nearby. So that is why they're always here. You also have Daimler. They have a plant in Portland again, so they come
Mm-hmm.
here. There are a lot of other companies that come here: SpaceX, Nvidia, Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft has their headquarters in Seattle, so they come down pretty often. So
Mm-hmm.
these are some of them, but I would say almost all of the companies that you see everywhere, you can get hired by any of them, if you are proactive and if you reach out to them.
Okay. And also, I want to understand, is there any number of semesters or classwork which is required to be eligible for taking qualifying exams for PhD?
So in my program, they say
Mm-hmm.
to take my qualifying exam, I should have, they set a timeline actually. So
Mm-hmm.
if I don't have a master's, I have to complete most of my coursework, and then I also have to turn in something called as a program of study by my fifth term here.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, by the time I turn that in, I have to complete as much as my coursework as much as I can. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so in that sense, there isn't as such a criteria for a qualifying exam, but they require the student to complete as much coursework as possible, and
Mm-hmm.
at all times the advisor is working closely with the student, so they keep a track of what the student is doing. So in that
Mm-hmm.
sense, the committee or the professors in the program get to know everything about the student from their advisors. So
Okay.
in that sense, I wouldn't say there is a criteria, or
Mm-hmm.
there is a requirement, but it's a general requirement, like they want you to complete as much as you can.
Okay. And how difficult is PhD qualifying, exams and the criteria that you spoke about in your university? And is there a number of attempt which a student can, have in order to pass these qualifying exams or criterias?
So OSU has I wouldn't say uh, two different exams, but some of the departments, at least in the material science program, some schools have a qualifying exam and a preliminary exam.
Mm-hmm.
In case of MIME, uh, they have a qualifying exam, but that is more like a program of study where I do have to present whatever I have done until now,
Mm-hmm.
and then my committee is present there. But again, it depends on the committee and also the other professors in the program to decide whether I'm eligible to go on for the preliminary exam. Usually it's taken when a candidate is ready to
Mm-hmm.
take the preliminary exam. So I haven't heard of many cases where someone has taken it more than once, but
Mm-hmm.
the number of attempts would be somewhere, I would say two, or maybe if in the second attempt someone has not been satisfactory, then maybe that student can be given a third chance, but usually it's not more than two. And if
Not
a
more than
student
two.
is, yeah, if a student is ready, then I don't think they need more than one chance.
Okay. And I also want you to talk about any mistake that you would have made as a student, which you want aspirant to absolutely avoid. And also, if you have any advice for the student who wants to do PhD from your university.
Um, I wouldn't say mistake, but some of the things that I got to know during this process while applying for a PhD, and even after coming to the US, I'd like to
Mm-hmm.
share that. So first of all is, I would say, work hard even when you're in your undergrad, because if you want to go for a PhD, it's the work that matters.
Mm-hmm.
Like GPA and those things are there, but it's also the work that matters. Other
Mm-hmm.
than that, I would say, if you're specifically eyeing to work in a particular company or take up a particular course at a particular university. So, for example, some of my friends wanted to work in the companies that are in the Silicon Valley, like Apple and those big Google and other
Mm-hmm.
that are there. So although like they hire from my university and other universities in the US and all over the world, but
Mm-hmm.
if you focus more on getting uh, an admit somewhere that's closer to um, San Francisco. For example,
Mm-hmm.
there's a university, SJSU, San Francisco State University,
Mm-hmm.
San Jose State University. So if you are going, if you're getting an admit there, and if you want to work at at a company that's close to that university, your chances of getting hired becomes higher, I would,
Mm-hmm.
because you get to connect and network with a lot of people that are from that company, and because the
Mm-hmm.
university is close to that company. So I would say uh, that is something that could be kept in mind when you're looking for courses
Mm-hmm.
and degrees at if you want to work after that. Other than that, I would say, be prepared to get hit by reality, because when
Okay.
I came from India to the US, it was
Mm-hmm.
very difficult for me. It took me like around 6 months to adjust to the pace that's here, because I was taking a lot of courses. I also had to do research, so the
Mm-hmm.
pace was, as it is, really like fast. But other than
Mm-hmm.
that, like, because I had to also cope up with things like doing my own laundry, like cooking food for myself, and I live alone. So in that sense, it
Okay.
was difficult for me to adjust to both of these things. So it
Mm-hmm.
took me a lot of time to do that. So I would say, I would advise students to be prepared to also work hard here, and not just like during your undergrad.
Okay. All right. So this was really helpful, Jaskaran. And I want to tell our viewers that Jaskaran is one of the expert on our platform, and you can reach out to him and write him, to him and the other experts there with your questions and concern, and they'll be more than happy to help you. And thank you again, Jaskaran, for this time. And I really, wish you all the luck and stay safe and take care and have a nice day.
Sure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.